Betrayal cuts deeper than any wound, and in the case of Charlie Kirk's assassination, it is not only the betrayal of one man's life, but the betrayal of truth itself. The official story presented by prosecutors paints Tyler Robinson as the lone gunman, the confessed assassin, and the unquestionable culprit. Yet, as evidence is re-examined, testimonies resurface, and contradictions grow louder, what emerges is not clarity but confusion, a troubling possibility that Robinson may not only be innocent, but deliberately framed. If that is true, then this case is not simply about one tragedy. It is about the erosion of trust in the very institutions that claim to safeguard justice. Stay with us and make sure to subscribe, because what you are about to hear may change everything you thought you knew. From the beginning, the narrative surrounding Kirk's assassination was direct and forceful. Robinson was guilty. The FBI and prosecutors leaned heavily on their position of authority, assuring the public that evidence left no doubt. But almost immediately, cracks began to show. Witness accounts contradicted timelines. Digital records failed to align. And as each layer of evidence was unpacked, it became increasingly clear that certainty had been manufactured, not earned. The betrayal here runs deep, not just of Kirk, whose death demands truth, but of Robinson, who may have been sacrificed to preserve a convenient story. At the core of this lies a broader question about credibility. If evidence does not match the conclusions, then what motivated those conclusions? Was it the pursuit of justice, or was it the pursuit of control? One of the prosecution's strongest claims revolved around Robinson's alleged confession through Discord messages. Headlines quickly declared that he had admitted guilt, supposedly leaving behind a digital signature of his crime. But when Discord's own representatives reviewed the data, they came forward with a damning clarification. The messages did not originate from Robinson's account. Instead, they appeared to be fragments of conversations, rumors, secondhand retellings, even speculation passed between acquaintances. The distinction between rumor and confession could not be more important, yet that line was blurred by those determined to secure a conviction. The impact of this revelation is massive. If the supposed confession crumbles under scrutiny, the foundation of the prosecution's narrative is no longer solid ground, but shifting sand. It raises the chilling possibility that what was presented as undeniable truth was in fact nothing more than hearsay elevated to the level of evidence. Digital timelines, too, have turned into a battlefield of contradictions. Prosecutors insisted that Robinson's movements and online activity matched their version of events. But deeper examination revealed timestamps that clashed with the theory. Records suggested he was active online at moments when he was allegedly at the crime scene. Other gaps left unexplained holes in the story, as if pieces of his life were being fitted into a puzzle they did not belong to. For investigators determined to close the case quickly, these inconsistencies were overlooked. But for those searching for truth, they represent glaring red flags. If Robinson was logged in from another location during critical moments, how could he simultaneously be perched with a rifle? The evidence paints not a picture of guilt, but of a timeline stretched and twisted to fit a predetermined outcome. Eyewitness accounts add another layer to the puzzle, one that authorities appeared eager to ignore. Several witnesses reported seeing someone resembling the shooter walking home on foot after the chaos. Their testimonies should have been vital, placing a human perspective against the cold trail of data. Yet, these accounts never made it into the spotlight. Instead, they were buried beneath the weight of digital evidence already under dispute. The silencing of these voices is itself telling. Justice demands that all perspectives be heard, yet here, the voices that contradicted the official story were conveniently muted. If the human eye saw what the digital record could not, then dismissing those witnesses was not just negligence, it was an active choice that reshaped the narrative. Forensic science, long considered the gold standard of truth in courtrooms, has also failed to deliver certainty in this case. Prosecutors pointed to a rifle and DNA samples as the anchors of their argument, yet closer inspection exposed serious flaws. The chain of custody on the weapon was riddled with inconsistencies. Unclear timelines of when it was collected, questions about how it was stored, and whether the proper tests were ever fully conducted. DNA, which should have offered clarity, only deepen the fog. Samples were partial, inconclusive, and mixed with unknown profiles, leaving more questions than answers. Instead of providing an unshakable link between Robinson and the crime, the forensic evidence collapsed into uncertainty. When science, the one domain meant to rise above bias, becomes entangled in doubt, the entire pursuit of justice is compromised. Behind the courtroom battles and legal arguments lies the human cost. Charlie Kirk was not just a political figure, but a man with family, friends, and a community that now feels the hollow weight of his absence. His death is measured not in headlines, but in empty chairs and silenced conversations. For Robinson, the weight is different but no less heavy. Cast as the scapegoat, his life has been reshaped by accusations that may not reflect reality. To his supporters, he is a young man trapped in a machinery of power, sacrificed to preserve a narrative. To his detractors, he remains a symbol of guilt. In either case, both families bear the crushing silence imposed upon them, unable to speak freely without fear of consequence. The tragedy extends beyond two men. It ripples across communities now divided, disillusioned, and distrustful. Compounding the suspicion are federal agencies' sudden shifts in narrative. Once eager to align Kirk and his organization with labels of extremism, agencies have since distanced themselves from those same reports. The timing raises suspicion. Why retract or minimize these connections now, right in the middle of a trial where truth is desperately needed? To many, it feels less like transparency and more like political maneuvering, a reshaping of reputations rather than a search for facts. When those entrusted with authority appear to protect themselves instead of the public, every word they speak becomes suspect. This fuels not only doubt about Robinson's guilt, but broader mistrust in the very institutions designed to uphold justice. And so the battle extends far beyond the courtroom into the arena of public opinion. Online, the case has become a storm of hashtags, petitions, viral videos, and counterclaims. Supporters of Robinson insist he is a scapegoat, while others hold tightly to the prosecution's narrative. Misinformation thrives in this environment, with unverified claims spreading faster than verified facts. A rumor becomes a headline, a half-truth becomes certainty, and the search for justice drowns in the noise. This is perhaps the most dangerous outcome of all, not only a trial in court, but a trial in the minds of millions, where perception replaces evidence and opinion replaces fact. What remains is a case defined not by clarity, but by shadows. The betrayal here is not only of individuals, but of principles, truth, accountability, and fairness. If Robinson is innocent, then the system has not only failed him, but failed Charlie Kirk, denying both men the justice they deserve. The institutions tasked with protecting the people instead risk becoming instruments of control, prioritizing convenience over truth. This case, then, is not only about one assassination. It is a mirror reflecting the broader struggle between power and honesty, between control and transparency, between the narrative we are told and the truth we may never fully see. As the trial continues, one truth remains inescapable: the story is far from over. Evidence must be tested, testimonies must be heard, and every inconsistency must be addressed. Anything less would not be justice but betrayal. And in a world already fractured by mistrust, the stakes could not be higher. Stay with us as this story unfolds, and if you want to follow every turn in this fight for truth, make sure to subscribe now.